Hi everyone. Today is going to be Lady Kung Fu Day. and earlier this week, this past Sunday morning, I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once in the morning. And then, of course, in the Oscar ceremony, Michelle Yeoh won Best Actress. And not only that, but the Criterion Channel is currently playing, I think, about 8 or 9 of Michelle Yeoh's movies, and I've been watching them. Last night I saw Police Story 3 with Jackie Chan, which was absolutely spectacular. That final train and helicopter scene is just, it's got to be one of the great action scenes ever filmed. And Michelle Yeoh, very, very good in the movie. So, her career basically starts in the early 80s and has continued on. The only other film I think I ever saw of her was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So I'm really enjoying catching up on some of her roles in 1980s, 1990s. But 10 years before that, there was another female Hong Kong kung fu star, and this is Angela Mao. And this is my original acquaintance with her from a recent release from Arrow in Lady Whirlwind and Hapkido. So you get 2 movies here for the price of one with an amazing amount of extras. This is just a stacked set. I love the cover art. And it's got a slipcase, and it does give you alternate cover art. Comes with a booklet with an essay, lots of great, this is indeed Lady Whirlwind, Angela Mao. And this kind of, the art of on the cover here is reproduced throughout throughout this little booklet. So you get, here is Angela in one of her great kicking scenes. And so this is Lady Whirlwind. Both of these films were made in 1972. Lady Whirlwind is very reminiscent of say a 1950s U.S. Western. It has the same kind of a storyline of revenge, where Michelle Yeoh, or Angela Mao, is seeking revenge upon a man who she has tracked down, and who she blames for the suicide of her sister. So she needs revenge, but this man himself is seeking revenge against a gang that he tried to leave, and they wouldn't let him leave, and then they left him for dead, and they believe he is dead. So it's got 2 revenge plots going here, but there's no psychology here. This is basically good versus evil, non-stop fighting in Lady Whirlwind. I mean, you barely catch your breath, and there's another big kung fu action scene, and almost all of them are one against many. And we have a widescreen photography here, so we see all the men, all of Angela Mao's opponents are all scattered through the background while she fights one-on-one. You would think, well, why don't they just charge her, as en masse, and they would certainly win. But these are sort of the early days from what I read. I'm not an expert in any means. This all comes from the supplements. This is sort of the early days where they were working out what you could do with this type of film. This is Golden Harvest's early days. They were offshoot from the Shaw Brothers. Raymond Chow set up a company. He found Angela Mao at the Peking Opera. Also Sammo Hung, who is the choreographer, the fight choreographer here, and in Hapkido, also plays a role here. And he's kind of pudgy. I was astonished by his likeness to Rainer Werner Fassbinder. Rainer Werner Fassbinder is kung fu fighter. There's very primitive sound effects of the blows when they hit. They're sort of like the spaghetti western kind of things that were just, not very realistic. And I was also surprised by the high body count. I mean, that's in the blood. I mean, both these movies. I mean, there's a considerable amount of death in these movies, and the blood is so fake looking. It's certainly kind of entertaining in itself in the way they use it. Again, they're working their way through the Golden Harvest producers and the director Hong Feng in developing what would become a huge, and was with these movies themselves, huge hits in Hong Kong and the Asian markets, and eventually in Western markets. And this is, like I said before, this is good versus evil. So these bad guys, they don't have any kind of, there's not a shred of humanity in these bad guys. I mean, they are sadistic, bullying. They care nothing about human life. They're very exaggerated, especially the lead. We have a dragon lady in Lady Whirlwind with the long cigarette, and then we have a really kind of a monstrous villain in Hapkido with one of these traditional little Hitler-looking type mustaches that always signified the bad guy. And there's very little humor here either. I mean, this is sort of ritualistic. This is, and especially Lady Whirlwind, you barely catch your breath, and another big chaotic mayhem begins. So, and as I say, it's one against many, but of course, for me, and I think for most people, the one-on-one, which usually, the one-on-one confrontation, which usually builds up to the end, does come in both of these films. And and then Angela Mao, she just is absolutely astonishing. Whirlwind, you could times that by 2 or 3, because she is just amazing. She was a trained martial artist. She does 90% of her own stunts, so it really looks authentic. A lot of the choreography here, you can see the blows not hitting. It does, like I say, it is kind of primitive, but the authenticity of Angela Mao is just off the charts. And she was found, as was Sammo Hung, was found in the Peking Opera, working in the Peking Opera, where Angela Mao's family worked. Her father was a star in the Peking Opera, but there was very little opportunity for women, because a lot of women's roles were played by men. She had, I think, some small roles in Taiwanese films, but Hong Kong was where the money is, and she was discovered by Hong Feng and Raymond Chow, who ran Golden Harvest, and they saw a real star potential in her. People would tell them, who wants to see a woman, in Kung Fu? And they would both reply, we do. I want to see it. They saw the potential here. And her roles in both of these films, at least, are very, very much non-sexualized. There's hardly any romance. There's a little bit of romance in Lady Whirlwind, not much in Hapkido. And another thing I found amusing was in the music score, because they borrow, music from Western Hollywood movies. There's some John Barry, James Bond movie music score, and also in one spot that didn't really seem to fit what was going on the screen. There's a whole passage from Vertigo, Bernard Herrmann's Vertigo. So Hapkido is mostly indoors, and it's set in a specific time period, 1934. And it's filmed, both of these films, at least the exteriors, were filmed in South Korea. So most of Lady Whirlwind is in exteriors. Hapkido is mostly interiors. And so in 1934, the Japanese had colonized South Korea. They had colonized a good bit of northern China. They are the villains, and this is a very nationalistic kind of movie as far as China and Korea, to drive out the colonizers. And they're brutal, these colonizers. And So we have a uh, very specific time period here, which the first film doesn't have, and it really plays into a lot of the, instead of a revenge plot in the first film, it plays a lot into the momentum of the fights. And I would have to say that Angela Mao is even better in the second film. I mean, her scenes, at least, they're another. They rise to a new level. Now they hold her back. I don't think she's in a fight scene for a first hour. It's a story of Hapkido was a Korean martial arts, and they're trained. Angela Mao and her two brothers, one of whom is Sammo Hung, who was a villain in the first film in Lady Whirlwind. They are sent by the master to go to China, return to China, and open up a school. So we have this dueling school, martial arts school, of which the Japanese have one of those schools, and of course that's where all the fighting comes from. But once she gets going, I mean, she is just amazing with her kicks, and she just she's astonishing. I mean, she's just she's so authentic looking, and she's fighting against these guys that seem like twice their size sometimes, and but you never doubt that she would come out on top. So like I say, this film. Oh, and I have to mention Jackie Chan pops up, and he's only like a teenager here in 1972, and he's like an extra as part of the bad guys who fight the Hapkido martial arts school. You do get a good shot of him though, and Angela Mao was such a success, a big success, that Bruce Lee noticed her and put her in Enter the Dragon. So that was her first real success as far as the West. Although Lady Whirlwind did play in New York City in a grindhouse on 42nd Street under the title Deep Thrust, to play on. I think it was distributed by American International, so they're trying to get people to say, "Oh, I wonder if that's like Deep Throat," which in 1972 was a big porn sensation. So in the commentary, in the extras, we get, there's 5 commentaries. There's 3 commentaries on Lady Whirlwind, and there's 2 on Hapkido. On Lady Whirlwind, I listened to Sam Dagan's commentary, and amazing that she knows so much about kung fu movies, because I've heard her on all kinds of other types of movies. And then on the second one, I listened to the Frank Jang, Michael Worth commentary, and Frank Jang has another commentary with somebody else on Hapkido, and he has 2 commentaries on Lady Whirlwind. And Frank Jang and Michael Worth, they know everything. So these films are just loaded with famous kung fu people, and I mean they are famous. I mean, a real, actual Hapkido master is in this film. At the end of the film, in the final fight scenes, and the kicking, and I mean the choreography. I mean, the reason to watch these films is for the choreography of the fight scenes. There's no real storyline that you can get interested in. It's very primitive. It's not meant to be anything other than to move the fight scenes along. So not only that, we get this booklet that I showed you a little bit with a really good essay in it, but probably the best supplement here is a 2022 interview with Angela Mao, who hardly ever gave an interview. Her career only lasted a little more than 10 years, so by the time Miss Xiao Yo came along, Angela Mao retired, and to raise a family. She moved to New York. There's family businesses and construction, and then she got involved with restaurants. So all these years, he's been hiding out in hiding in plain sight in Flushing, in Queens, in New York City. and with her sons now running the restaurant. So we get an interview with one of her sons who talks about, you know, the restaurants and the kind of food and his mother's fame, because they knew she had been an actress. They had no idea how famous she was. And then later on, there were film festivals, and it would have their mother's name on the, you know, on the marquee. And boy, and this is years later. But Angela Mao said, "Well, that was my life then. I have another life, raising my family, running restaurants." She didn't want to do interviews. She wasn't interested in the fame, but I think she was very much pleased when you see her interview, and it's a two-part interview, so you see it in the supplements on both Lady Whirlwind and Hapkido. You can see the pride in her. She's now, I think, 72. She looks fantastic. She says she still practices her martial arts skills and is keeping her young. And she did come out of hiding when Sammo Hung got a Lifetime Achievement Award in New York City from Asian Society. And so they asked her if she would present the award, which she did. And then everybody was amazed. Where did Angela Mao, where did she come from? Where she's living right there in New York City for like 30, 40 years. So overall, this was a very good, I mean, highly entertaining a couple days that I spent with this film. Now, I got to say that as far as kung fu movies, I'm very much a King Hu fan. Dragon Inn and A Touch of Zen and Rain on the Mountain, and I forget the Come Drink With Me, I think is the other. Those are the four I've seen. Now, he was a world-class filmmaker. I don't think anybody has that kind of ambition in these films, but that doesn't make them less entertaining, because they are definitely very entertaining kung fu movies. I'm going to be watching some more. I'm not buying the big Shaw sets, but I will be watching some individual kung fu movies along the way. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.